Alright, going into recording session 1. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Alright, hello everyone. My name is Akira. Sorry I haven't posted in the past couple months. I've been very busy, getting used to the whole teaching jobs, getting engaged, and doing all of that. But I think I'm gonna come back to the channel for a good little while and try to give you more burst of power content, little JJK content, and overall just be more active. But today's video we're going to talk about something that has been on my mind for a long while, on why Dragon Ball nowadays is so boring. Now, modern day Dragon Ball is a shadow of a former shell of itself. It has become a parody of itself, and just like a washed-up rapper in the music business, it seems to be just listening and replicating its old shit, knowing it won't ever top it. But let's back up and give a little recap before we get into the matter at hand, on how Dragon Ball just stopped caring. The Dragon Ball IP has been a mainstay in anime culture for decades now, first starting in the 1990s as a gag manga created by Akira Toriyama. The series transformed into a more battle-focused shonen that gripped the hearts of billions of people around the world, and today is a big hitter in the entertainment media. With that being said, Dragon Ball in the past 9 years, in my opinion, has been very subpar in quality, and due to various factors that we'll get into this video, I believe that Dragon Ball has gone lazy in terms of story writing, character development, and overall has become creatively bankrupt over the years. As such, we're going to describe how Dragon Ball has stopped trying and what are some potential solutions to get this juggernaut into starting to actually feel like a story and less like a product from a major corporation. I'm going to say 3 reasons for my arguments. The video will be timestamped so you can watch any section you so desire. The game that will be playing in the background will be taken from some sessions I had in Burst of Power, and you can join the official Discord in the link below. So let's get into it. Alright, the first point, the power system shortcomings. I think most of Dragon Ball's problems as a story can be correlated to the power system of this series, and that is a usage and manipulation of ki. If you don't know, in the universe of Dragon Ball, all living things have access to spiritual energy, also known as ki. Some organisms have more or stronger levels of spiritual energy. Ki can be used to do various things such as flight, amping speed, creating lasers, clones, magic, etc. But being a battle shonen, the cast of Dragon Ball uses ki for more combat-oriented purposes. To get more ki, one has to just train their physical body and their mind. Through training and hard work and genetics, one can become an extremely proficient user in ki. This sounds all well and good, but due to the introduction of a tool in the form of power levels, this system lost a large amount of flexibility in combat expression and creativity. And as such, it has forced readers and watchers to not be truly engaged in the fight pieces as they should be. In Dragon Ball, if a character's power level is simply larger than the opponent, there's an overall increase in power, speed, attack potency, and durability. This means that if you are fighting an opponent that it is overwhelmingly stronger than you in terms of power level, most of the time you will not be able to hinder them in any significant way. Now, what this entails is that the effectiveness of most strategies in Dragon Ball are completely dependent on whether you are relative to your opponent in terms of power level or not. I believe that due to the linear nature of Dragon Ball's power system, it has developed severe problems when it comes to actually making viewers care about what characters are doing while fighting, and encourages viewers to gloss over about 70% of the fight, as that percentage is just filler attacks that won't change the momentum of the fight in any way. For example, In Dragon Ball, I can produce the most tactically sound play to defeat an opponent, but at the end of the day, all that is just fluff. It won't do any lasting damage to the opponent or place them in any peril where they need to be worried. This is especially true if there is no alternative win conditions, such as forcing them out of bounds or anything like that. This, in my opinion, leads to the viewer to develop major apathy for strategy in these fights, because at the end of the day, it will just end with a knockout punch or a ki blast either way. In its later years, Dragon Ball seems to be trying to delve more into techniques rather than bigger power levels. They have tried to introduce alternative win conditions such as sealing in the form of Mafuba, ways to nullify power levels as shown with Moro, and the utilizing of techniques for defensive and offensive play. But at the end of the day, it all just divulges into the one that has the biggest number wins, always. I fear that the precedent has already been set for the Dragon Ball power system and its viewers, where nowadays, if a person who should be vastly stronger loses the fight due to technique, it is rightfully so seen as an asshole or unbelievable. For example, Roshi versus Jiren. During this fight, Roshi operated at a level where he should not be able to logically operate going by the power system established beforehand. I don't care how skillful he was with Ultra Instinct, his body should not have been able to react to Jiren's punch in any which way, because going by the old power system, Jiren's attack speed, his perception, should have been vastly superior to Roshi's in any which way. Now, back on. The modern day power system for Dragon Ball with power level as its roots leaves very little wiggle room to make engaging fights that allow the reader to feel a sense of grounding and weight to everything. What's the point of being pleased about how someone does in a fight, how they think, how they plan, when I know that all they need to win is just increase their number using transformations or some other arbitrary method? The power system doesn't allow characters to show other aspects of their individuality and how they tackle issues, and that leads us to the next issue, which is not developing characters. Dragon Ball set the standards for what makes a good shonen, but it highlights some pitfalls which all shonen should be wary of. In this case, one of the major ones being the underdevelopment / neglect of side characters. This should come as no surprise, but Dragon Ball has a serious issue with its side characters, where characters often get relegated to second, third, or fourth fiddle and sacrificed to push the story forward. I believe that if a character is not going to be used, they're better off just being killed off or dying. Anyways, Dragon Ball nowadays, as I'm sure you have heard, is a Goku and Vegeta show. As of late, they are trying to bring in a new cast of characters to fill the role provided by other older characters such as Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, Majin Buu, etc. But I fear that years down the line, the same lesson will not be learned, and even those characters which they are trying to push as heavy hitters, Vegeta, Broly, Gohan, Piccolo, will once again lose shine, and soon they will give them another meaningless power-up to catch them up to the rest of the cast. I think that characters in Dragon Ball should be given other specialities other than combat that can keep them up to date and engaged with the story. Or when introducing new antagonists, the bleach method should be implemented. Now, what do I mean by this? They should make it so we're a large group of nameable characters. By that I mean characters that actually have names, they have personalities. So where a large group of nameable characters appears, forcing all fighters to take part and show their strengths in combat. Another solution suggested is the utilization of tension during fights to generate suspense, other than just winning the fight itself. As an example of this, take this fight between Peter Parker and Harry Osborn for Spider-Man 3. During this fight, Peter has to fend off Harry, who is trying to kill him, while protecting the ring he wants to give to MJ, and as he is not in his spider suit, he has to ensure that he doesn't land in public places where people will get to know his secret identity. During this fight, Peter has to balance multiple objectives and stay focused on not losing to Harry, and by extension losing his life. Doing this encourages the reader to be engaged in all aspects of the match. Tension during a fight, I believe, will give the Dragon Ball story a much needed impact and nuance, along with giving characters other goals in the fight other than protect the Earth. A classic example of this solution in play would be fighting a villain in a public space. Things like this, I believe, can further develop characters and illustrate how they act under extreme situations. It gives characters opportunities to breathe and express themselves fully. The fate of the world is oftentimes at stake in the Dragon Ball universe. If not the world, then it's the universe. But I believe actually showing the ramifications of their actions, showing that with each mistake they make, lives are placed at risk and people die when they mess up, would go a long way in developing the characters in a meaningful and healthy manner. But this leads us into the last point of this video, and the reason I think that Dragon Ball has been so disengaging for me, and I'm sure for lots of people as of late. The third issue is a lack of consequence. Let me take you back to the Saiyan Saga. Goku just finished training with Genkai and has to hurry back to get back to Earth to fight. While he's traveling, multiple of his friends die in combat, and all of them would have died if Vegeta and Nappa weren't Saiyans, and if they didn't just want a good fight. If they wanted to, the Earthlings would have been dead. They could have killed them so in like 30 or less minutes. Now, say this was modern day Goku with all his current techniques and tricks and whatever have you. That travel time is no longer an issue. He can just teleport to the location and get into combat immediately. Over the years, Dragon Ball has written away a lot of methods to develop consequences and tension in the story. There are no longer consequences for major injuries because of senzu beans and dende. There are no longer any consequences for being late or travel time because of instant transmission. There have long been no consequences for death because of the Dragon Balls. All of this releases the fight of any narrative weight, any impact, any tension. It also doesn't allow the characters to go into sticky situations as often as they should, because everyone on the Z Fighter sides are their allies and everyone has a way to avert serious consequences. For example, in the Resurrection F movie, Frieza is given a chance to destroy the Earth because Vegeta and his everlasting yapping. This was a direct consequence of him not finishing the job when he should have. Classic Vegeta. And as such, rightfully so, the Earth was destroyed. But Whis, an ally of the Z Fighters, reversed time so Goku could kill Frieza before he got the chance to blow up the Earth again. This ability to reverse time has seldom been seen or was even properly foreshadowed beforehand. You see what I mean? This is a prime example that nothing really matters in Dragon Ball. This leads me to the introduction of two of the worst characters in the story in my opinion, and that is Beerus and Whis. Now please, don't get me wrong. I love Beerus's behavior, his attitude, his character design, and I believe that in the hands of competent writers, these two characters will not be an issue for the narrative whatsoever. But because this is Dragon Ball, they play a major roadblock for the providing tension in the story. Whis and Beerus are essentially magnitudes stronger than Goku and Vegeta, and they are on their sides. And I know some of you may say, no, he's a god of destruction, he will kill them at the drop of a hat. No, this man Beerus has been asked to babysit. He's not a threat to the Z Fighters whatsoever, and any threat he does pose is strictly from a martial arts rival perspective. Whis is even worse in my opinion, as he is much calmer than Beerus and he is magnitude stronger than Beerus. So if Beerus is ever being rude or getting out of line, Whis can just, discipline him or whatever have you, if need be. All of this gives a sense that it doesn't really matter if Goku or Vegeta wins or loses because Beerus or Whis will get them out of trouble in any way, shape, or form, whether it be teaching them divine techniques such as ultra instincts or giving them tips on how to become better fighters. The mere fact that these two are on the Z Fighter's side immediately takes away any risk of the characters getting into any serious trouble. These two have essentially put the training wheels on Dragon Ball, making every fight the Z Fighters take part in feel like a glorified sparring match rather than a life or death bout. I pray that one day the writers will do something to turn them against the Z Fighters or get them from the story, because if these two remain, the narrative, the story will only stagnate and not take any meaningful leaps in growth and development. Dragon Ball is a large-scale IP, alright, that has become a hub for lazy writing and over the years, in my opinion, struggles with an outdated power system that fails to produce thought-provoking fights that can only be enjoyed when you just sit down, shut your brain off, and look at the pretty colors. It has several issues with developing characters in a uniform and satisfactory manner without breaking the logic of power in the show. And lastly, the show has lost almost all consequences for the actions that the characters commit, making the show feel narratively empty and vapid. It's because of these reasons that I, and I'm sure a lot of other people, even a long-standing Dragon Ball fan that grew up with this show and loved this show, have just gotten so bored of Dragon Ball. I've just gotten so apathetic. Right now, when I read the official release, I'm reading with like half of my eyes closed, because I know at the end of the day, because right now in February 2024, Goku and Gohan are fighting. I know it's just all flash, lights, and colors. There's nothing actually meaningful there. Goku's character is the same, started Super to now, like character wise. I'm not talking about power level wise, and it's same for Gohan, right? That's why nowadays the only time I get excited for Dragon Ball is when I'm reading fan-made projects, whether it be watching the fantastic animated sequences from people, the talented people on YouTube, or reading fan-made mangas. I believe the reason why Dragon Ball has so many fan-made projects is because a lot of people are feeling how I'm feeling, where we are just left so unsatisfied from the original source. I think Dragon Ball as an IP has One Piece levels of potential when it comes down to fleshing out the story, fleshing out the characters, putting in interesting powers, making interesting fights. It has so much potential, but I believe that it is squandered, not because of the fantastic artists at TOEI or the animators. It has always been a writing issue with Dragon Ball. From the get-go, the writing has always been an issue with Dragon Ball. And all I can do is just hope for the best in the future, man. I'm taking things in my own hands because I'm making a webtoon right now that is kind of inspired from Burst of Power and Dragon Ball and Hunter x Hunter, and I'm trying to get this thing out, at least 3 chapters by the end of the year. So if any of you are interested, I'll give you more information about that. But with that being said, look for more Burst of Power content in the future, and I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope all of you, just keep on living a good life. Alright, best of luck to everyone, and thank you for tuning in.